Facebook ads can be an amazing resource to drive traffic, leads, and sales to your business. But a lot of you are making one mistake that I'm going to help you solve in this video. And this one mistake has been the culprit behind not just my campaigns not working well, but hundreds and hundreds of clients that we work with over the years. And here's the truth: Meta wants to have you default to the things that they want you to do, and those things are not always in your best interest. Welcome back to this episode of the Mindshift podcast. And today we're going to get nitty gritty into a category and to a topic that I actually love. I have said since 2012, since we've run ads in our agency for clients, that Meta, Facebook and Instagram together are one of the best places to start cold traffic advertising to reach perfect strangers and get them to become customers. We talk about this in my Leads from Scratch program inside of the Mindshift Inner Circle, and we talk about it in how we do things at our agency for our clients. But I got to tell you, if it was just a week ago when I sat down with one of our clients who'd been setting up their own campaigns based on our framework and our methodology, and we were looking at the results, and the minute I saw them, I knew he'd gotten tricked into some of the Facebook default settings that I want to help you avoid today. Let me get it right out on the table. Facebook Advantage Plus and Facebook Advantage Everything is a major trap to the majority of you when you're running your campaigns. Now, so if you're new to Facebook, you're not going to have any idea what I'm talking about. But if you do want to learn what I'm talking about after you hear this video so that you don't run into this trap, then I'm going to invite you to join the Mindshift community, because we're going to talk about this in our upcoming series inside of the community. And you can get access to that by clicking one of the links below this video. So let's get into it. Let's get the backstory in first. Over the last 5 years, Meta has gone through a lot of changes in how campaigns get set up. Many of you may or may not know, but they went through a situation with Cambridge Analytica some 5-6 years ago and got in a lot of trouble and had to remove a lot of targeting options from the platform. There was a day going way back when we could target not just age, not just gender, not just location. We could target where someone worked. We could target if they work for a Fortune 500 company. We could target whether they went to this school. We could target anything we wanted. Well, all of those data points were reduced down to very micro, simple data points. And I'll talk about this in another video about how do you succeed when you can't target very specifically the way we used to. But for today's conversation, I want to have you step away from 3 ideas that you must be aware of. Number 1, there's a category in either the campaign objective and the campaign setup tab versus the ad set tab versus the ads tab. There's this Advantage Plus is available in all 3 places. And I call them booby traps because when you're in our class and you're in our strategy calls, we walk through setting up campaigns like this with our clients live with our students in the room. And we will start to turn these buttons off and Meta will turn them back on. I don't know if you know what I'm saying, but the funny thing is because we have the experience to know that these buttons are bad buttons. And what's funny is a lot of times you'll save your campaign knowing that you turned them off, and then you go back into your campaign later and all of a sudden they're turned back on. And I really think it's bad business with what Meta does. But listen, we're not here to complain about their business practices. We're here to help you avoid the mistake that's going to cost you money. Number 1, the first thing that you want to be mindful of is when you're starting a brand new campaign with no data or with very little pixel data or with very little API conversion API data, you do not want to give Facebook full control of your campaign. That means you do not want them to do advantage campaign budget optimization. What that means in the campaign setup phase is you're going to put in $1 amount, and then let's say you're running 5 ad sets. So the campaign is $1 amount. Let's say it's $100 per day. And then you're going to run 5 ad sets, let's say. Well, what campaign budget optimization does, or Advantage Plus optimization does, is it says, we are going to look at all 5 campaigns and we, Facebook, are going to decide which of the 5 is the best performing campaign. Now, that works down the line once you have significant data, significant sales, and a significant number of leads in your conversion API pixel. Now, I know I don't want to get this too technical, but just understand that when you're just starting to test your message, to test your copy, to test your angles, to test your triggering events, and you're still testing audiences, the last thing you want to do is give Meta full control over your Facebook and Instagram ads by saying, "Oh, we're going to allocate 80% of your budget here, and we're not going to send very much to the other 5 ad sets." So the first thing we want you to do is to turn off Advantage plus optimization at the campaign level. What you're going to do instead is you're going to go to your ad set level, and here's where they try to get you again. In the ad set level, there are several places that they want to get you to let them do, or I like to say, let them take the wheel. Okay. The first place that they want you to take the wheel is in audience targeting. Okay. They want you to put in, and I believe in broad targeting. Hear me on this. I do believe that we're in a day where Meta knows more about our customers and more about our prospects than we do. So this is a double-edged sword. This is specifically for you if you are newer to the platform, newer to your journey with digital customer acquisition, and newer to having a pixel in the ad ecosystem. You do not want them searching for your audience all over the planet. And here's the thing that happens. When you set up your targeting, they default now to, when you put your targeting in, your age, your genders, your country, regions, and locations, then you start putting in your interests, your behaviors, your demographics, all of those things that some course probably told you to find out. You go to put them in there, and guess what? There's a little button that's defaulted that says audience expansion or advantage audience plus. I don't get caught up in the name because they changed the name too much for me to keep up with the name, which is part of the game I think they play, is that when they change the name, you forget and then you don't know what it is. But there's a default button that's checked in that ad targeting section where you start setting up audiences. And what it simply says is, no matter what you put in your targeting and your interests and your behaviors and your demographics, we have the right to ignore that if we think your audience is somewhere else. That is terrible, Meta. And for you, as the advertiser, the business owner, the marketer who's watching this, you've got to understand why that's a problem. And here's the interesting thing is you definitely don't want that on if you're doing retargeting. And a lot of times the first campaign that we run for clients, especially if they've got a history of business, is a retargeting campaign because we call it low hanging fruit. It's the way to build top of mind awareness right out of the gate. Well, the problem is that button is defaulted on and they put it in a place that's a little conspicuous. You've got to uncheck the button that says, if they think your audience is better, if they think they can find a better audience, you're giving them permission. Please take that one off. In the same section, the next booby trap that's in that same ad set setup where your targeting lives is where the ads are going to show up on the platform. It's called Advantage Plus Placements. At least that's what it's called today. What you've got to be careful of is letting Meta put your ad anywhere they deem is appropriate. And for those of you who are new, you know that when you open this up, Meta is over Facebook, Meta's over Instagram. Meta also has the Messenger app. Meta also has what's called the Audience Network. Those are the 4 macro areas where your ads can show up. But in the micro, when you break it all down, and many of you don't because they hide the box where you can open it, if you hit manual placement, which is what we recommend for cold audience traffic, in most cases, there are a few exceptions. We talk more about that in our inner circle. I can't cover every exception in this one video, but in the macro and in the majority of campaigns, we do not want Meta taking control of where those ads show up. Why? Well, there are placements in Meta and Instagram that are called the marketplace. There are placements called the audience network. There are placements called in-stream ads on Reels. There are more places that are what we call garbage placements, right? It's almost like thinking, if I want to grow a plant and I know that the plant needs sunlight and I put the plant in the closet and I wonder why it doesn't grow, who's made the mistake. Now, I know that's a simple analogy, but there are certain placements where your audience is just not hanging out on Meta. I guarantee you, your seven-figure business customer is not playing games on Meta. So why would you let them place an ad in the game section or in that section of the platform? And this is something that most advertisers don't know. Now, some of you are very seasoned advertisers watching this video, and you're going to say, Daryl, that that is not always true, and you would be right. Once you have seasoned data on your pixel, you've got a history of at least a couple hundred leads in your pipeline that you've generated from your meta advertising, Facebook or Instagram. I would agree that it is safer to go to Advantage Plus placements, but that's for your mature audiences. That's for your mature advertisers. And here's why. Because once you have a history of conversions in your campaign, Meta's going to know that your audiences are not in these obscure places. But when you have no data, and we work with so many companies who are really successful offline and they're just trying to get their social ad game together, they don't have enough data to give Facebook guidance. So in the absence of that data, we must restrict where those ads show up. Okay, so step one in that category was we don't want them just choosing the audience above and beyond our audience choices. And the truth of the matter is, you have to find the way to switch it. It's called switch to original audiences in the ad set section. Down further on the page, you're basically wanting to make sure that you switch to manual placements in your ad setup. Again, this is if you have zero data. Okay, if you have zero data, I'm not saying zero data like you just started yesterday, but like when you don't have a history of large amounts of leads and sales on the platform, please do not let them take the wheel. Now, many of you know, I'm a big believer in letting Meta take the wheel. I'll talk about that in another video coming up real soon, where we talk about the ad and the copy and the creative do the targeting. And it is something we absolutely believe in. But again, we can't just let that be the case when you don't have any data. Okay, so there are a few other places that they turn automatic optimizations on. In the ad section, they turn on automatic optimizations. And these automatic optimizations are going to give them permission to add things to your creative, add things to your ad, your video, your copy, your image, and you have to turn them off manually. Okay. And this is where some of the trap comes in. We literally did this with a client the other day live in one of our sessions, and we were having him turn off these optimizations because essentially you spent time, money, and energy to create your video or to create your creative. And you're essentially telling Meta they can change it if they deem necessary. What was the point? Like, what's the point of you spending all the time, energy, and effort to create it, and then you let them just take over your creative and chop it up, put music over the top of it, put a new title over the top? It's just terrible. But this is one of those areas where when you get down that part when it says auto optimizations, I think they call it auto enhancements or enhanced optimizations. They changed the name so much you can't keep up. Make sure all of those are turned off. There's usually 4 of these auto optimizations, and a lot of times they default to having 2 or 3 of them turned on. So look, at the end of the day, many of you are advertising starting from scratch. By the way, we help companies get started from scratch all day, even when they're 7- and 8-figure companies, not just solopreneurs who just got started. Because when you're starting brand new on a platform, you just don't know about this stuff, right? You can understand from the course or the material or the person you learn from, even our agency, you can hear the practical step by step and still not actually know where all of these little nuances are. And we've been doing this now online with Meta since 2012. We were an early advertiser. We started our agency in 2011. We've been advertising with clients on Meta since 2012. So listen, Advantage plus anything inside of Meta when you're just getting started can be a problem. And let me be clear about one last thing and I'll wrap this up. It is even more so a problem if you're running campaigns outside of anything related to leads or sales. Many of you are boosting posts. Many of you are running, like and follow campaigns. I'm not sure why you're still doing that today, but whatever. But any of these other campaign options, running traffic, running video views, which we love, it's really just a way to just give your money to Zuck. And listen, he's got enough and he's built a great platform, but we have to understand the nuances of what drives their system. And what drives their system is you giving them money to try to find the right people. But if you don't know how to put controls on that, it's like a child who's riding a bike. You'd never put your 3-year-old or 4-year-old on a bike without training wheels, right? And when we go into Meta, by the way, that also works in Google and other platforms, we've got to put some training wheels on the engine before we can let them run into the wild. So listen, this video came up because of a real life problem that we had inside of our inner circle with one of our members. We see it with campaigns we work on at the agency. And I just thought I'd sit down and share this with you because at the end of the day, you get frustrated with when your dollars don't produce an ROI. I live in this seat all day. And we want to tell you that some of what you're doing isn't wrong. It's that you missed a few booby traps or steps in the way that nobody told you about. So I hope, if anything, you go back and check your campaigns, check and see if you've got Advantage Plus anything turned on at the campaign level, at the ad set level, at the ad level, where you've given Facebook control on accident. And maybe that could be the reason why some of your campaign results aren't what they like. If you'd like some help, if you want to join our community, if you want to post your results in our community, we are happy to give you feedback on them. You can check one of the links below if you've stuck around until now. If neither of those options, if you're looking at working with our agency or the inner circle and neither of those make sense, feel free to check out our next video coming up next week. I'll talk to you then. Peace.